Look at these positive images. The first one is Elijah. Elisha. The young man is out there screaming, my father, what shall we do? And Elisha, still in bed, and when he hears the alarm, doesn't jump out of bed, go running. He's cool. This is about people who can face threat with coolness. He doesn't even hurry up and speak. He doesn't even say anything to the young man. He simply says, Lord, open the young man's eyes. To be a part of the peace movement, we're going to have a few people who are so calm and so cool and so collected. Most of us will not reach that level. We got to have some folks in the movement for whom the very threat of death does not paralyze them. I guess I've been working on it. I've been working on coming to a place where I stop trying to calculate my safety factor in every witness I'm trying to make. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you the truth. I will be honest with you. I usually, even though there's a radical impulse in me, my tendency is to try to find the nicest way I can to confront power. Because I know what power can do to you. I mean, in my church, I know what it's like when the IRS comes after you because of your stand. And I know how much it costs to answer all of the questions that the lawyers will put before you to prove that you should not lose your 501c3 status. And I know what they can do to discredit you. And I know how they can smear you. So please forgive me, my brothers and sisters. I usually, like my mama used to say, how do you get your hand out of a lion's mouth? So you move it out easy. I have tended to move out as easily as I can, but that is not enough. Got to be some folks who are willing to live for the cause, to die for the cause. Or we were talking earlier about the Berrigans. Where are the Berrigans anymore? Can we live off of their witness for the next 50 years? Or will there need to be somebody else who has the courage to stand up and say, this is what I believe, come what will or what may. Let us pray that in the peace movement there will be those who will have prophetic courage. And maybe you pray for me. Perhaps the time will come when I will not be able to ask, is it feasible for me to stand for peace? But ask, is it feasible for me to have integrity and to stand before my God if I do not speak up for peace where I can with maximum impact? That's just one of the positives. I like his coolness. He's cool. Brother is confident that God who called him can see him through. And that when God has no further use for him on this side, then God will give him assignment in high places, as in heaven. But anyway, that's enough of that. Let me get on to something else positive. I don't expect to recruit too many people with Elijah's courage out of here tonight. But then there's something else I think that's so beautiful. It is that God allows Elijah to reveal the blindness of those who think that the only path to even trying to allay their fears is the military solution. He says to God, strike these people with blindness. Now mind you, this is going to require a little imagination. A prophet with such power. And we usually, when we are dealing with Elijah, can we tell you, those of you who don't know the Bible too well, usually with Elijah, we get the first round. But in Elisha narrative, we kind of think that well, in the commentaries they call them legendary accretions, okay? That maybe everything they said about Elisha may not have happened quite as well as it happened with Elijah, which is to say, don't read the Bible if you don't have any imagination. Do not become a literalist about this thing. You think that God gives Elisha the power to say, strike these people with blindness and they all go blind? Well, I like the story. Because what it does is it reveals that there is a certain blindness or myopia in the military enterprise, in the war-making enterprise. Some things that are very important will never be seen by those. This is why the movement exists. There is the blindness. It is important to say to the generals, there is something going on in the world that you were not aware of when you were making your plans in the war room, and we have seen it. Do not assume that they could understand. Do not be surprised that they don't know why you say what you say. There is a blindness to it. Then there is sight. He says to God again, give these people their sight again. And that's good news. Can you imagine that someone who has been trained for war, because of the witness of good people who are willing to walk the walk and talk the talk, that they can go from blindness to sight? That's also designed to keep us from being, as it were, weary in the battle. Folks, we've talked to it. I know, Pastor, I'm talking to these pastors, some folks in my church that I knew were never going to change. And I resisted the temptation that many pastors had. They just prayed to God that some well-placed funerals would take place in the congregation. No, I have lived long enough to see folks that were as mean as snakes turn from their negativity to being able finally to see a different understanding of what brings happiness to themselves. And what a moment it is to have enemies turn. Have a lady come to me, send me a note that says, throughout your 18 years of ministry, I have been very negative to what you've done. But I have seen how God has worked through you, and I want to express to you my apologies. And I want to express my appreciation for you. I really lost my false teeth up here. The possibility that somebody can turn. Do you believe that people can turn? Many times in the movement we don't believe it. In the civil rights movement, we used to say, well, folks ain't going to hear what we're talking about when we talk about equality and justice. I'm so glad Dr. King didn't give up. I'm so glad that the NAACP, the Urban League, and a whole lot of other organizations didn't give up. So glad that church people didn't give up. Folks can change. Do we believe they can move from blindness to sight? If we don't believe it, then we will be a movement that becomes cynical. Even in our continued witness for peace, we'll be cynical because we don't believe these people are going to ever see it. Now, it says it's going to happen in 20 years. It may take 40. That's why we have to get on the path and stay on the path. Folks can change. America can change. Well, there's another positive.